to be going through my planning, teaching, and reflecting assignment for 777. So just a quick preview of the science lessons I taught. I taught 3 interconnected light and sound lessons for first grade through a modified amplified curriculum because I'm at a school in San Francisco, and that's what they use. So each lesson was about an hour long, and the goal of our unit that we were working on was to create a puppet scene, like a shadow puppet scene, with dark, bright, and medium bright areas. And Amplify always has like a unit goal, and that's what this one was. And some reoccurring materials that I'll bring up are the Amplify slides, the kids' science notebooks, and then these 6 materials that they keep using. All right, so just really quickly, lesson 1 was 2.3, blocking light. And so this lesson I taught, the objective was that students will be introduced to the idea of investigating materials, and that an accurate investigation has to be controlled. It also was to help students discover that some, but not all, of the materials they use block light and create dark areas. And so just an example of the slides that I've been using and that I'll reference. Amplify comes with these slides that I just used as a big part of my lesson. And it really just guides our conversations and turn-in talks and questions. And these are the 6 materials that the students use, so this is what we investigated with. So as I said, like the engage portion of this lesson was the slides. There's some questions at the beginning. Our Explore was investigating materials and recording their findings in notebooks. Explain, we filled out a chart with headings and then put the materials under did it block, did not block, and not sure if it blocked. Elaborate, we connected the activity to building the shadow puppet scene. And evaluate, I went through notebooks, turn talks, listened to turn talks, and walked around during the activity to note who was where. Here are some pictures of the students investigating. In the middle is the notebook page that they went through, and they circled yes or no if the material blocked light, so made a dark shadow over here. For the second lesson I did 2.4, which is designing a cutout to make a dark area. This introduces the student to the unit's main idea of that engineers evaluate their solutions in relation to particular design goals. And what this means is that students will begin to build their scenes and solidify knowledge of dark areas / block light. They use a lot of the same materials from last time, but the main Explore, the lesson was pretty similar to the last one, but the Explore is that they plan, design, and cut out dark areas to use in their final project, so they're actually building their scenes here. We did a lot of class discussion to further explain, and then further testing to see if the material blocked light. And then other than that, it was kind of the same setup. So here's an example of the students. Right over here on the right, they're watching me. My CT took some pictures for me. And so I was demonstrating how to cut out, like, cardboard was my dark area. Some kids didn't really understand it. This kid in the middle, he had a trouble understanding the concept. But because he was using wax paper, which creates a medium bright shadow, so he figured that out during testing, and then he revisited it and cut it out, I think, of like foam or something. And then, yeah. All right, so for my third and final lesson, I did 2.5, which was explaining the dark part of a surface. And this lesson was really for the students to really just understand the blocked light concept. And so to do this, the students engaged in diagramming and explaining their thinking to communicate how blocking light from a source creates a dark area on a surface. It was really heavy on cause and effect. And this also gave them the academic language and concepts to talk about the unit, and we used a lot of materials. Engage, we used our science wall, which it's on here. It's put up on a wall. I don't have a picture of it. But we have the unit question listed, key concepts, vocab, and chapter questions. So we did turn-in talks to discuss what the kids have learned so far. To Explore, we completed a diagram on page 14 of their notebooks, and then explain a class discussion of why blocking light makes a dark area, and I made sure that the academic language was given and that sentence frames were used for this. Elaborate, we connected the activity to building our scene and filling out another diagram on the wall of how engineers design. And then same thing for Evaluate, looking at notebooks, listening to turn-in talks, and walking around during the activity. So in the middle, this is an example of a completed notebook page, which it has labels, and they use the correct color crayons to color in light. Here's a kiddo working, and then this is another picture my CT took of the kids listening and watching the slides. All right, so for my reflection, I thought that I did pretty well during, like, it was a very heavy, or not heavy, but a very dense unit, and so I thought I did well in doing that. And some strengths I find that I have and that I kind of know are that I'm really good at encouraging students and asking probing questions to get them to the concepts. I thought I gave really clear expectations on how to use the material and that I had really good time management, which is something I've been working on, so I'm proud to feel like more comfortable with that. Areas that I need to grow, especially for science, I just don't feel as confident in knowing what I'm teaching the kids, and so I feel like I backtrack a little bit and I want to get better at that. Also, stopping off topic conversations. It's just like I ask for examples, and kids will, we talk about it, we have good conversations, but then we have to get back to business. And also, I felt like I did an okay job building off prior knowledge with real world examples, but it's an area that I definitely want to keep working on. And so to engage student connections, my CT and I started this unit like a couple weeks ago by taking a walk around the school to talk about light sources and where there are no lights. And then I continued to reference kind of things that we observed throughout my 3 lessons to relate it to the students' prior knowledge. Also, we talked a lot about students' own shadows and like what they observe and how that relates to our activity. And then finally, so strategies that I use to prioritize student ideas. Like I said, I always try to make sure to ask plenty of probing questions during the activity. And then during class discussions, I like to lead the students with the probing questions to the right concepts and also encourage them to try and retry as their main form of learning because I know that's hard for some kids. I also talked a lot about students' own examples of dark areas and shadows to build up their prior knowledge, like I said. And I think these are all ways that that students could understand that their input mattered during my lessons, which I was super proud of. And I think I'm just under the 8 minutes, so there we are.